Hi, I'm Billy Doran and welcome to Off the Beaten Path. Now, whether you're the type of person that enjoys climbing to the top of the Rocky Mountains or simply relaxing next to a quiet river, makes no difference. Why don't you join me as we go off the beaten path? All right, welcome to another episode of Off the Beaten Path. I'm your host, Billy Doran. Today, we're paragliding, looking over Edwards, Colorado. It's a beautiful day here in the Vail Valley. And in a few minutes, we'll be going up in the air.
So let's do the paperwork and then we'll start laying up.
Does this have room to put a last will and testament on there as well somewhere?
I hereby, being of sound mind and body, leave my entire estate.
Yeah, I don't think I can call mine an estate.
Okay, Billy, we're going to get you suited up here. This is your harness.
Okay.
It's got a nice soft airbag on the bottom, so if you land on your butt, you'll be okay.
A little cushion, okay.
Okay, but it's very comfortable. It's obviously bigger than a climbing harness, and you actually can sit in it and sit back and relax, kind of almost, I wouldn't say a recliner, but it's a very soft, light chair.
Okay.
Almost like a hammock that's upright.
Okay.
Okay. So put this on like a backpack.
I trust in everything you're telling me.
There we are. All set up, and you're ready to rock.
So what are these made out of? What's the basic material for paragliding gliders?
If you look closely at the material, it's kind of a ripstop nylon.
Okay.
And what
It's like a mesh built in there, huh?
Right, right.
Okay.
So, of course, if it rips, you don't want it to continue to rip, so
Right.
it stops it, yep. And there's a coating on it that's silicone coating, and what that does is it makes the glider non-porous. You don't want air going through here, otherwise it wouldn't fly.
Right, that's defeating the purpose of the whole lofting
Right.
thing.
The whole idea is that it inflates and turns into an airfoil or a wing,
Okay.
so that the airflow over the wing gives us the lift we need in order for us to fly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Billy, is I'm going to pull out this wingtip here.
Okay. Are there different sizes, Greg, or are they all kind of generally the same size, or is there more like a beginner, expert, kind of different size levels of gliders?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All the above. A tandem glider is about a third to half size bigger than a solo glider.
Because of the extra weight.
As you can see, the size of my glider, half of my glider is the size of Dave's glider right there.
That's what I was just noticing, yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, we need to have a bigger glider for the wing loading, for the weight range that it will allow it to fly.
Okay.
Okay. So, and also you mentioned something. Do they have faster gliders, better performing gliders? And they do. They have entry-level gliders for beginner pilots, and they have competition gliders for the experienced
really big
pilots
guys.
that want to go far and long and fast and all that. As you can see, Billy, I have holes here in the leading edge. This is called the leading edge of the glider. This is what fills up with air. I lay that out away from the direction we're going to run. As we pull it up, this will come up and inflate with air. As the air will go into it, and it's sewn on the bottom edge, which is also called
Right
the
along
trailing
here?
edge. Yep, that's sewn.
Okay.
So the air can't get out of it, and that's what turns it into
Oh,
an
so it
airfoil.
kind of, it pillows it out, and
actually-
then the whole thing lofts up
Right.
and the air is under the whole pillow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's what it does, it inflates. Okay? Actually, the first paraglider was built in the 60s. And it wasn't a double surface that inflated. It was actually a single surface that's similar to kiteboarding today that they're using. A kiteboard is a single surface with a spar, inflatable spar in it. But now they designed the paragliders to be similar to a parachute in ram air technology, where it fills up with air and turns into an airfoil. So eventually they found that parachutes were working. Climbers would go up climb a mountain in the Alps and huck off with a parachute. And they wouldn't jump like a free fall like they do in base jumping, but they would inflate it just like a paraglider and run off, and they'd go land in the valley after climbing one of these technical routes. So then eventually they started to change the design of the canopies. They made them longer tip to tip, the span that's called, also the aspect ratio. And they started to make them a little bit thinner. They added more cells to it, which gave it more performance, a better sink rate, and therefore able to become a soaring machine. So that's why we can stay in the air at times up to an hour, 2 hours. Cross country, the record cross country flight now is like 270 miles.
Is that right?
Yeah, and
wow, that's a long time in the air.
yeah, so it's pretty exciting.
So there you go. Greg just gave us the basic once-over. He's going to hook in right behind me. He'll be about 15 inches behind me with a bar separating us. We just run like Fred Flintstone into the wild blue yonder and off into Never Never Land. So wish us luck, and hopefully next time we talk to you, be up there. So we're hooking up right now.
Okay, I'm hooking in.
Just
Hook
get
in
me hooked
first,
in.
then I'll hook you in.
We got to hook in, hook up, hook in.
You have this little instrument on the back, on your back here. That's my altimeter.
Okay.
It might be beeping as we are flying.
Okay.
But it just gives me my altitude and the sink rate, and tells me if we're in air going up or air going down.
Okay.
Billy?
Now.
Put your arms under here.
Please go like that.
Yeah, we have some good wind right now. You can see the flags. They're all blowing straight up the hill, and that's what we want.
Okay.
When we have to wait a lot for the wind, we call it para-waiting.
Para-waiting. As opposed to para-witting?
Yeah. You're going to be running pretty much straight down, again, towards that white flag. And of course now our wind is mellowed out, so we're going to wait for another cycle.
Okay.
The wind, as you've probably noticed, it kind of changes regularly. It might be blowing from the right, it might be blowing from the left, it might be blowing from the back, and blowing straight up the hill. We call those cycles when they start blowing straight in into our face, and they basically come at intervals, hopefully regularly, but a lot of times we end up having to stand here for about 20 minutes or so to wait for the right conditions.
And para-wait.
And para-wait.
So ultimately what you're doing is you're waiting for those cycles of wind coming up the hill to help with the whole lofting and pushing straight up.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And
so you want to kind of come up up in your chest and your face.
Yeah,
and just...
exactly. And then that makes the glider easy to inflate and get us off the hill.
Greg, let me ask you this. While I was sitting here waiting for the wind and such, are there ever days you come up here where it's just not going to happen? The wind is just totally not cooperating, and you just have to. It's a lost day.
Exactly. If you come up here, you've got to be willing to not take out your glider and fly if the conditions aren't favorable. What's nice about Bellyache is it's a very consistent site. Almost every morning we can come up here, and with the sun coming up from the east, since this faces northeast, it heats the face quite nicely, and I'd say 90% of the time the wind's blowing straight up the hill. And look at that, we got a rabbit. Bunny.
Want to take a run? Little rabbit.
Really like.
Of course, the saying goes, it's better to be on the ground wishing you were in the air than in the air wishing you were on the ground.
Ready, Billy? I'm ready.
Clear?
We'll see you in the air.
3, 2, 1, go. Run.
You're watching Off the Beaten Path on PLUMTV.
Keep running. You got it.
Yeah!
Did it come down?
Oh, yeah! Greg, thanks again.
My pleasure.
That was spectacular.
My pleasure.
That was one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life. It's just, You know, it's just you're just taking it all in. It's almost like staying at the Grand Canyon. You gotta just see it. You know, you just gotta feel it. So you guys gotta call Greg. What's your phone number?
It's 970-376-0495.
The name of the business?
It's Vail Valley Paragliding and Summit Paragliding.
Call. You don't know what you're missing. You're gonna see your life and the world from a whole different perspective.
Thanks a lot, Billy.
Thanks again.
Pleasure.
Fantastic. Okay, well, as you can see, we made it safe and sound. And I just wanted to pull Greg aside for a second and just thank him for starters. That was amazing. I can't even, for someone that usually talks a lot, I can't really come up with the words. It was such an amazing feeling. You're just suspended up there. You just, it's quiet. And actually, as we were going along, Greg said, you know, you're a red-tailed hawk. And that's exactly what it was. It was surreal. It was quiet, and you're just seeing every nook and cranny. You're coming over the trees. You can see, you can totally amazing feeling, and it's probably what it would be like.
Well, you didn't have any doubt that we'd make it, did you?
No, I didn't have any. I didn't have any doubt.
After the waiver, that usually some people.
After the waiver,
but
I actually, in the little bottom, I put, if something should happen, and I put a whole. I'm not gonna tell you who gets what.
I've never had anybody not follow through. So
good.
That's good. But yeah, you know, being in the air seems to be foreign to people. If you go to an edge of a cliff and you look down, you're on a two-dimensional space. You have a reference point, which is the cliff, and then you have nothing. So our brain plays little tricks on us. When we're flying and we're actually away from the land or the ground or a cliff or anything like that, we don't have any reference. We're in a three-dimensional airspace. So a lot of people that say, I'm really afraid to fly or I'm afraid of heights, or suddenly when they leave the ground and they're in that three dimensions, they lose their fear. It's amazing to get people that really want to. They come and they want to work on their fear of heights, and then the next thing they know, they're in the air and they're going, this is amazing. And you know, they're comfortable in the seat, the harness is secure, the glider feels secure over the head. They're not falling down, they don't feel like they're falling, they actually feel the wind in their face, and then they're actually flying.
Greg, one more time, thank you so much for this amazing experience.
My pleasure, and we'll see you again.
We'll see you again. So thanks for joining us in this episode of Off the Beaten Path, and we'll see you next time to join me off the beaten path.